DJ something to play with. So it's like when you put the wind up on your song, everybody knows it's your song when it comes on.
What do you mean by wind up? Got you. Four bars now?
Yeah,
okay.
just a little.
Ideas, yeah, Little Caesar, the honey pleaser, Brooklyn, yeah, check it. Yo, I be buying beats, so all my girls be INCs, coming backstage, dying to get pleased. You got me, I rock, deep aside to your linen. Why you spot me grinning, a bunch of foxy women? Why you speedball with cars, that's the valid. I get close, custom made, from a stylist. Cruise in my Lexus land with no balance. Why you walk the street until your feet get talent? Take you on the natural high like a pallet. It be all good, toss the clothes like a salad. When it's all over, put your vote in my ballot. It's my diner, I'm Alan, you're Alice. Spend the night in Little Caesar Palace. It be all good as long as you don't act childish. While you standing there with the crisp in your gum, if worst come to worst, keep this on the hush show. I know you see me on the video, I know you heard me on the radio, but you still don't pay me no attention. Listening to what your girlfriends mention. He's a outsider, he's a freak, got a different girl every day of the week. It's cool, not trying to put a rush on you. I had to let you know that I got a crush on you.
Hey yo, shorty, won't you go get a bag of the loot? I'll be undressed in the bra or see-through. While you count your dues thinking I'ma cheat you. The only one thing I wanna do is freak you. Keep your stone sets, I got my own baguettes. And I'll be doing things that you won't respect. Little Kim the queen bee, so you best take heed. Shall I proceed?
Yes, indeed.
I'ma throw shade if I can't get paid. Blow you up to your girl like the army grenade. You can slide on my ice like the escapade. Itchy gitchy yaya with the marmalade. Who me, not you. Oh yes, who he? I even dig your man style, but I love your profile. Whisper in your ear, get you all shook up, but don't blush. Just keep
this on the hush show. I know you see me on the video, I know you heard me on the radio, but you still don't pay me no attention. Listening to what your girlfriends mention. He's outside,
he's a freak.
got a different girl every day of the week. It's cool, I'm trying to put a rush on you. I had to let you know that I got a crush on you. Why you trying to catch sea breeze? I'm in the PVs, all close C3.
Decked out.
CDs with Paisy bass, keep my lady lace. Don't be fooled by the baby face. I hope you're not, cause your thighs got me high. Only one plan, that's the rise to the top. I told you before when I first was I want an interlude in the nude.
You know I love the way you feel us. Shit, my tequila. Merch from the dealer, full lift chinchilla. Heat up the clutch, 750 the luck. Give me speed down the clutch, make it easy to duck. I'm not the one you sleep with, then quick. You want a cheap chick? Better go down a freak nick. You got to hit me off. Why this girl gifts, of course. So I look slick in my kiss in the hood.
I know you see me on the video,
True.
I know you heard me on the radio, but you still don't pay me no attention. Listening to what your girlfriends mention. He's outside, he's a freak, got a different girl every day of the week. It's cool, not trying to put a rush on you. I had to let you know that I got a quick wine. I know you see me on the video, I know you heard me on the radio, but you still don't pay me no attention. Listening to what your girlfriends mention. He's outside,
He's a what?
quick wine.
Different girl every day.
Like this.
It's cool, not trying to put a rush on you.
D-Rod.
We love y'all, Apollo.
One love, y'all.
Thanks.
Break down classic record. Crushing Lil Kim. Big homie.
Yeah, appreciate it, man.
Catch y'all next time. Baby.
Guy by the name of Sincere Thompson used to let us crash on his couch when we would come up, and he worked at the label. He did record promotions, and so he knew all these people. And so we went to the Hip Factory one day, which is where everybody hung out. Hip Factory on 54th Street was Puff Daddy had one of the rooms locked down, or Diddy had one of the rooms locked down. Rodney Jerkins had one of the rooms locked down, and Devontae and Jodeci had the other room locked down. So if you just hung out in there, Tone and Poe from Trackmasters would be in another room. Wow. If you just hung down there, you would see people coming in and out. And we were there. And Sincere said, when you see Un and Biggie, just tell them that I'm a friend of yours, and they will let you come in and play your music for me. And that's when I met Lil Kim and Biggie, and I played records for them, and that's where the Crush on You record was born.
Okay. I mean, Biggie was the biggest hip hop artist, around, and it was pretty much, he just said, look, just tell Biggie if you see him. I mean, he must have had all these people around. I mean, was he just, no problem, come on in? Or
well, it was actually his partner. Ran on Junior M.A.F.I.A and Lil Kim, and so basically, he knew and and Biggie were partners in their label, and so when you see one, you see the other going into the studio. And so I spoke to Un said, come upstairs, and we played the tracks for Biggie. Biggie was basically executive producing the album and selecting all the tracks and writing and all this stuff. Mace was writing at the time. Cameron was writing at the time. So just being in the studio with Biggie, being in the studio with Mace, being in the studio with Cameron, all at the same time, creating records for Lil Kim, it was just like the time of my life. I couldn't believe that this was actually, so that was my first real break into the music business.
So you did, was Crush on You the first thing that you did then?
I had produced some other records for some smaller artists, but Crush on You was really like the first record that just really took off. And I did the record, and I went back to North Carolina, and maybe a few months later, I was hearing it on the radio like every single time I would get in the car. And so that's when I knew, like, oh, this is like the moment, that it's really happening. Yeah,
I mean, at this point, because you guys went going back a little bit, you went to music school, and so what did they teach you? Did they teach you about being in the studio, or did they also explain publishing and
I mean, when you're a young kid, all you want to do is just make music, so you're not even really paying attention to the music business that you're actually. So a lot of which later on came to bite me, but at the end of the day, it was just more about just being on the scene more than anything. I didn't really start getting into learning how to produce till I moved back to North Carolina, when we were actually making records and going in the studio and making records, and then understanding pre-production at home and how to do all of that, and then going into the studio and laying it down and mixing the records and things like that. So we were putting out independent records at that time. And so that's when I really, really honed in my skills producing, because at the time, our record label, we had Supreme Narbonne on there, we had Entice on there. So all of these records were getting played in New York City. And I was basically the house producer for Payroll Records at that time. So I was producing everybody on the label. So when you're doing that much production, you're learning as you go, and you're getting better and better at producing records.
But then even the guys at Payroll, are they teaching you about, points and
no.
And
at that time, you're so immersed in just your artistry, you're not even really learning the business side of it. And it's more or less like, let's just all pitch in and just figure it out, get there. And we didn't, of course, all that stuff came up so much later. Once I got the Crush on You record, then I had to get a lawyer. So now I'm starting to read contracts, producer agreements, understanding what royalties are on publishing. I got a publishing deal with Warner Chappell after that. So now you're starting to really understand how the business works. You're starting to see royalties and things like that. But Crush on You was really the first record where, okay, I got to really pay attention now, because now we're talking about, the actual business of the music business and really understanding what that means and how important that is.
Yeah. What did Crush on You then do for you? I mean, I know when you got your publishing deal, but then how did that, because that was a big track, even those who weren't into hip hop, that was one of their big tracks. Were people looking for you then? So who's the guy who did Kim's record?
Yes. Now at that point, everybody is trying to find you, because they're trying to get, music like that Matter of fact, a bunch of people that I played that track, because I had that track for like 2 years before I even sold it. So I had played that same track for a bunch of different A&Rs, and you know, they would call and be like, "I need a track like that, Crushing You." I'm like, "Track like 2 years ago." Didn't necessarily have the vision. You know, they see it after it's completed, after, you know, Biggie had, you know, got on the record and got Kim on the record and things like that. So, so they see it after the fact. But the record blew up, and everybody is trying to find you. You're getting offered production deals. People are putting you in the studio and giving you producer fees to produce records. And at that time, all I did was record shop and make beats all day. So I worked third shift at a hotel. So by the time I got off at 7 in the morning, I sleep at 12, and I make beats all the way until 11 o'clock the next day on the SP 1200. And you're just record shopping and making beats. You're getting turned on to jazz. You're getting turned on to classic rock when you're record shopping. You're studying the people that are playing on these records. So you're finding artists that that went on to do solo records outside of James Brown's group. CTI had all these jazz artists on, like Bob James, and then you would find everybody that played on Bob James's records, and you go find their records. So I was really getting a good education into, you know, all of these people that played on the record, and studying all different genres of records. So all they would do is just make beats. So anytime people would call me in to play beats to shop for different artists, I had an arsenal of tracks, and we would go up to New York like every couple of weeks for like 4 days, 3 or 4 days when we were off for work, and take meetings and shop tracks. And so that's how I ended up placing a lot of music.
Hey, thanks for watching. Please remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe. But also check out the membership, which is a good way of getting some exclusive videos and actually long videos from day one. But thanks again for watching. Look forward to seeing you again. Thanks.